overreacting to the Ebola crisis? No, they're not. Those that are overreacting are in the minority. They are the actions of a few people that give others around them something to think about. I'm saying that what you call everyone overreacting is a few people's actions that are what is needed in the situation. And I can take forever to try and explain about what I mean by that is needed in the situation. But in general, most people are just viewing the Ebola crisis as a topic of conversation. They're viewing it as something that is happening in another part of the world, something that is unfortunate, and something that is not really affecting them. People become complacent to things that they are not worried about, complacent towards things that are happening in the world that they might view in Africa as a crisis. But here again, like I said, it's just a topic of conversation. Most people view this Ebola crisis, the Ebola situation in Africa, as something that can't affect them, something that doesn't really have a chance of harming them so long as they don't go and hunt down someone who has Ebola and exchange bodily fluids with them or almost purposely get the disease. Because of that type of situation, that is what makes it just a topic of conversation. But those few people who are overreacting, those few people who are bringing it forward to other people's minds as more than just a topic of conversation, they help us to actually take action. They encourage people around them to think about it in a different way. And because of that, we are able to be better prepared towards these types of situations. Is it an overreaction in the Ebola crisis right now? No. As a matter of fact, I think we are underreacting.
When you're ready, Chris?
Today I'll convince you that the current Ebola situation is in fact being overblown by both the media and the general populace. Various media news sources, political and entertainment figures have all contributed to conspiracy theories and misinformation regarding how people are affected with the situation and how the situation actually is in North America as opposed to Africa. Fear has pervaded people's viewpoints. It has caused entertainment and news and politicians to make untrue claims, and there's been unnecessary reactions and judgments based on very little information that's been provided.
Okay. 4 statements. Go ahead.
Okay. So overreacting of a few people is helping to be prepared, even if it's considered over. When it comes to any situation, when it comes to reacting to those situations, it's always better to be over-prepared than it is to be unprepared. Even if nothing is happening here in North America, it's always good to have multiple angles on the situation before it arises. Overreaction also is like a defense mechanism for humans as a group. Like our ability to feel fear, overreacting gives us the ability to adapt to any situation by forcing us to think of a solution, by forcing us to come at it again and again until we conquer the situation. Even though it's happening, basically light years away from us, not here in Canada really, it's still a good point to be prepared for it, even if it's not going to happen. And then as well, even if overreaction just by a few people is considered overreaction by the general populace all over the place, it's not a bad thing. Because, like I said in my opening statement, that makes people think. That makes people consider multiple topics instead of just their average everyday lives. It also helps people to be aware of what's going on in the world around them. As things happen over in Africa, Asia, Europe, and those sort of things, would we really pay attention to foreign politics if no one over here overreacted? If everyone here was simply just complacent with their everyday lives, would we pay attention to world politics in general? And then I'd say that this overreaction, or rather simply just dramaticizing pretty much an event that happens, has been part of human nature since early as human. People overreact. People blow things out of proportion, both for drama-wise, for entertainment-wise, for defense, so we can survive as a people. And in part, I think that helps us to also evolve. That helps people to learn from past mistakes, to see other people's past mistakes, and to be able to grow from it in general and move on towards a better future.
Chris, your rebuttal when you're ready for points.
As far as you go in saying that people overreact, and that's a good thing, I disagree, because when people overreact, then that's when panic sets in. That's when they make statements that they can't back up. That's when they say things that they can't take back. And when you get various celebrities and other people saying things that others will listen to, that causes unneeded stress and unneeded emotion in the populace. For example, Texas Congressman Steve Stockman went as far as to claim that Barack Obama had an intentional role in the Ebola outbreak. He was quoted as saying, "I'm wondering if that's intentional in order to create a greater crisis, to use it as a blunt force to say well in order to resolve the crisis." This is a great example of a huge overreaction, and it's an example of fear-mongering for personal gain. And the only time that can happen is when a society is overreacting to a situation. People have been largely misinformed about the Ebola virus and have reacted accordingly. People are concerned about it and panicked about it, even though, in my opinion, there is no reason to be concerned about it. Ebola is not transmitted through the air or in similar ways to various viruses like the cold or flu. In fact, the only way you can even contract the disease is through like bodily fluids from another person. That includes things like blood or urine, saliva, and feces. And it's not actually that big of a threat to the North American population because we're a first world country and we have better sanitation and healthcare policies. Another great example of people overreacting to the Ebola crisis is when a middle school principal in Missouri was given a vacation and there were students pulled out of the school after he came back from a family funeral in Africa. The reason stated was because many parents were concerned about the recent Ebola outbreak and that he might bring it back with him. The idea that people would cause such an uproar just because someone was in the region is an overreaction, especially considering the only way to contract the illness is, again, through bodily contact, through fluids or defecation. If people believe that all of Africa is in contact with each other's feces, they're making a huge generalization and overreacting. It's also racist. The population of Africa is between 1.1 billion and 1.3 billion. The amount of people diagnosed with Ebola is currently, or when I searched this up a few days ago, was 9,936. That works out to less than 1% of the population of Africa. That's to a 0.0009 something population percentage. So the idea that people even perceive this as a threat is an overreaction.
Got it? Your 4 points. 1 minute break to prep before the open debate.
It'd be totally inappropriate to say into the iPad, Nevin. Why would you do this?
I never heard you the first time.
Not say it again.
Are you watching your time?
Yes, I am. They're 3 minutes and 40 seconds. But I started about 5 seconds late. So I'm just at 3:05, I'll say enough.
Or you can give him an extra 5 seconds.
Nope.
You guys have your timer going?
Yeah, he's got it.
You're supposed to time?
1 minute. You got it.
That's time.
All right. Open debate starts now.
Okay, let's get into another great reason why people are overreacting. The Navarro College in Texas denied Nigerian applicants because there were confirmed cases in the country. Although, when they denied these students, there had been no confirmed cases in just over a month.
Despite that, it keeps people on their toes. When people are constantly watching for it, not just in African American population, although if they are watching for just an African American population, I do admit you are right, that is racist. But people do need to watch those type of things. Were people overreacting to the H1N1 situation, in your opinion? If you don't mind me asking.
I don't really remember what that was.
Okay, so some people say that people were overreacting when H1N1 hit us. I'm just using this as an example. But did very many people get infected? It was said that this swept through population quite fast. Not very many people got infected, but those who did were actually able to pass it on to others around them pretty fast if they weren't careful.
Yeah, but the flu is an airborne virus.
That is
Ebola
true,
isn't.
yes.
And so
But-
you don't even contract Ebola unless the person who gives it to you has the symptoms already. The symptoms of Ebola are extreme discomfort and bleeding from the eyes. As long as you don't make out with someone who's bleeding from their eyeball, you're fine.
But that's not really the point that I was trying to bring up. When it comes to how it's contagious, that's not really what I'm discussing at the moment. The thing is that people don't really pay attention to it. Does Ebola start off right off the bat? Does you bleed from your eyes? Or do you get infected and does it take a little while for you to actually show those symptoms?
Yeah, but you can't pass on the symptoms unless you're already showing the symptoms.
That's true. But symptoms can start out minor. It doesn't start out with you showing symptoms like bleeding from your eyes. It starts out with various rashes. It starts out with pain and other things like that. Then, more serious symptoms gets into bleeding from your eyes, coughing up blood, and other such things. Most people didn't think that they could get infected from H1N1, but believe it or not, I actually was. I was sick from H1N1 over 3 weeks in a row, and it was pretty bad. Did I think I can get infected? No, because I wasn't watching. I didn't care about it. 90% of the population is complacent and unmotivated towards Ebola at all, in general, and therefore, they're not watching for it.
So why is it that colleges are not accepting applicants from regular people from Africa and making a generalization when the only North Americans and even the large majority of people in Africa that have been affected are either extremely impoverished or are healthcare workers?
Now, are you referring to simply just the case in Texas, or is that all colleges and universities that are around the North American continent that are doing it?
It's not every college, obviously.
Well, but that's just the thing, like, that overreaction of a few people is in itself in a minority. People are not overreacting in general population everywhere. That is mostly just a few people. And when it comes to those overreactions, that helps people around them think, are we overreacting? Do we need to make other people around us overreact to the situation? No. And therefore, people aren't overreacting. They're actually underthinking it. They're just kind of pushing it aside. If people were actually overreacting, then people would be denied into colleges and university all over the North American continent, simply just because they came from the African continent.
It wouldn't be an overreaction at that point because the only way it would even get to that point is if people were being infected frequently in North America, or people that were coming from Africa were frequently infected. At this point, anyone reacting, like for a college to deny applicants, it takes more than one person. There's a lot of people that are going to be in the college that are going to all agree and say, no, you can't apply to this college if you come from this region. There are also multiple countries in Africa that are denying people immigrating there from places like Zambia. So they're not letting them into the country if they're from that country, even though there could be no evidence that where they even lived or what region they were in was infected with the virus at that time. That takes a lot more than a few people, and that's an overreaction. It takes an entire government to deny that amount of people.
Very well might be so. However, when it comes to Ebola at the moment, as it's spreading over the African continent, the majority of patients who are sick with Ebola are actually contained within 4 countries. Just 4 countries, not the, 72 countries.
That's time. So finish up your point.
But not the 72 countries that are, or somewhere around that number, that are in Africa. But rather, it's just a few countries that actually have that amount of people. And one of the best ways that has been shown in the past to actually stop diseases from spreading is to contain them. That's not an overreaction. That is simply just something that human beings have discovered as a fact. To stop a disease, we need to actually contain it first.
Okay, thank you. Getting into closing statements.
Closing statements 2 or 4.
When you're ready, 2 minutes each.
Right?
That's right.
Ebola isn't an issue in the developed world, despite the active imaginations of many people. The virus has nearly exclusively been spread in areas of poverty or lacking sanitary stations or proper health care for patients. There's currently a large-scale fear-mongering in the United States, as issues such as Ebola are being used to put pressure on political houses, including the Obama administration. This has led to many people being misinformed of the issue, and and even going as far to engage in widespread panic. Overreaction does not lead to correct courses of action being taken, it simply leads to chaos. Not more, but I just can't talk.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, is there chaos in our country right now? My answer is that there's not really chaos early on. You look around left fringe, and most people are just going about their daily lives, happy-go-lucky, and all that thing. Diseases have swept through the world before, over again and again and again. We survived the Black Plague. We survived smallpox. We survived multiple different things, and we're still here. People overreact, people underreact. That type of thing doesn't really matter. When it comes down to it, overreaction is simply just a way for us to learn. It's a way for people to pay attention to what's around them. And that's all it is.
Okay, great work, you guys.